Friends, today we are here to discuss a new chapter, that is human eye and the colorful world. As you all know, our earth is so beautiful and colorful. But there are many unfortunate people who cannot see and enjoy the colors of the world. This is because there are defects in their eyes. Let's go to see what actually happened to their eyes. So, this is the structure of the eye. The outermost layer of the eye, which appears to be white to us, is called sclera. In front of eye, it becomes transparent, although it is opaque in nature. In front of eye, it becomes transparent and it is called cornea. Okay, one of my friend will be going to explain it in a very easy manner. You will be going to like that.
It's eyeball from the side, and let's assume it is transparent so that we can see inside. Here it is. So we'll look at the different major parts of our eyes and we'll also see what each one does. So let's start with the one that is most visible to us, this one, this structure. This is called the iris. The iris. And when people talk about the color of the eye, they're actually talking about the color of the iris. So when light hits our eyes, the light that falls on our iris gets reflected. And the color of the light that gets reflected totally depends upon the pigment that makes it up. In this case, it is green. And so we would say that person has green eyes. In my case, for example, it is brown. So my iris reflects brown light. And so my eyes are brown in color. But notice our iris has a hole in its center. And that hole is also given a name. It's called the pupil. So let's just write that down somewhere over here. That hole is called the pupil. And as you can see, the pupil is through which the light enters into our eyes. So through the pupil, light will enter into our eyes, and this is what enables us to see things. Now, our iris has a very important job. Its job is to control the size of this pupil, the hole. And that's because during the daytime, or when the ambient lighting conditions are very bright, then there are a lot of rays of light that are hitting our eyes. So we wouldn't want too many rays of light entering our eyes, because in that case, that might damage our cells. So in such a case, what we'll do is our iris will make its hole smaller. The pupil becomes constricted so that it only allows the required amount of light to enter our eyes. On the other hand, if the ambient lighting conditions are very dark, so let's say it's evening time or nighttime, or you're inside a dark room, now there won't be many rays of light hitting our eyes in the first place. Now we would want to open up that pupil, otherwise we won't be able to see anything. And so in such case, the pupil opens up, the hole opens up, allowing the light to enter. And you can do this experiment at your home. Just stand in front of a mirror in a dark room. Your pupils will now be dilated. And just flash light into your eyes, and you will see immediately that pupil will get constricted, become smaller in size. Alright, now let's get rid of the iris so that we can see the other parts of the eye. So now we are only seeing a section of the iris. It's the same iris with the hole in between. Alright? So let's look at the other parts. This bulged part of the eye, which is in front, is called the cornea. So this is called the cornea. And over here we can see a lens. This is called as the lens of the eye. So it's just called the lens. Let's write that down. This is called as the lens. And the space between the cornea and the lens is filled with a watery kind of a liquid. And it's called the aqueous humor. It's called aqueous because it's watery. And if you look at this carefully, we can now see that this cornea, along with the aqueous humor and the lens, they're all convex shaped. So the cornea and the lens together form a converging lens system. And so whenever you want to concentrate on a specific object, their job is to make sure that the light from that object gets focused right at the back part of our eye. Because it's the back part where we have lots and lots of light sensitive cells. So the back part of the eye is completely covered with light sensitive cells, which we are seeing over here in red. And so this whole thing is also given a name. That's called the retina. So let's write that down as well. So let's write that down. This light sensitive cell covering, cell lining, is called retina. And so in order to see anything clearly, the light from that object must get focused exactly on the retina. If it doesn't, it'll look blurred to us. And what do these cells do? Well, these cells, once light falls on them, they convert light into electricity. And finally, those electrical signals are carried from the retina all the way to our brain through some nerves. So there'll be some nerves that carry all these signals. The nerves will connect to all the cells of the retina, and all these electrical signals is carried to the brain. And this bundle of nerves are called optic nerves. Optic nerves. And then our brain, the command center, receives these electrical signals, does a lot of complex processing, and it's eventually able to figure out where those light rays came from, and then it constructs the image of the world around us. The whole thing is super complicated. Our brain is super complicated, but it's also pretty amazing how it's able to do all of this. And by the way, the space between the lens and the retina is filled with a jelly kind of transparent substance called the vitreous humor. The word vitreous means looks like glass or kind of like glass. Of course, it's not made of glass, it's made of organic substance. But just like glass, it is pretty transparent. So it's a jelly-like transparent material, and its job is to maintain the shape of our eyes. Without this humor, our eyes could get easily crushed under the weight of the stuff that is on top of it. So the vitreous humor is a transparent jelly-like substance. The aqueous humor is also transparent, but it's watery kind of substance. And the last thing we'll talk about are these fiber kind of things that we see over here, which are keeping our lens in place. They're called the ciliary muscles. They have a pretty important job too. Their job is to be able to change the shape of this eye lens. Well, why do we need that? Well, we need that to change the power of our eyes depending upon how far the objects are that we are looking at. This will make sense if we draw some rays of light. So let's dim all of these things and consider some rays of light. All right, imagine we are looking at objects which are very far away. Then the rays of light from that object will be parallel to each other. And in order to see it clearly, those rays must get focused onto the retina. So the ray diagram would look somewhat like this. Now the important thing is the amount of bending that is required. Notice that these rays have to be bent by this much amount so as to get focused on the retina. And this bending is done by this lens system, converging system. Now imagine that same object were to come closer. Again, to see it clearly, the rays of light must get focused onto the retina. So these rays will not change, but the incoming rays will now be diverging. And as a result, we will see now the required bending is higher. All right, so just concentrate on the bending when the object comes closer. Here it is. Can you see that? The required bending is more. More refraction is needed, meaning more optical power is needed. So when objects are closer, we require more optical power, more bending. And when the objects are farther away, we require less optical power, less bending. So notice our eyes should be able to change its power depending upon how far the objects are. And that is accomplished by these ciliary muscles. So when the object is far away, the required power is less. And so the required curvature of our lens is also less. In such case, the ciliary muscles will be relaxed like what's shown over here. But when the objects come closer, since the required power is more, the ciliary muscles will start pushing on this lens to increase its curvature, as you can see. Like this. I've exaggerated the figure over here. It'll push on the lens, increase the curvature, and as a result, it will increase the optical power. And that's how, depending upon the distance of the object from our eyes, the curvature of the lens will keep changing. And that is done by these ciliary muscles. And this phenomena where ciliary muscles change the power of the eyes by changing the shape of the lens is called accommodation. So that's their job. Their job is to perform accommodation. And by the way, we're going to look at accommodation in great detail in a future video. All right, so don't worry too much about this accommodation as of now. So that's pretty much it. So let's quickly summarize what we learned. We saw that the cornea, the aqueous humor, and the lens together form a converging system whose sole job is to focus rays of light onto the retina. The retina contains light-sensitive cells whose job is to convert light into electricity. These electrical signals are carried out by optic nerves. Their job is to carry the signal all the way to the brain so that the brain can process the information. The jelly-like substance, the vitreous humor, maintains the shape of our eyeball. The iris regulates the size of the pupil, which in turn regulates the amount of light that enters our eyes. And finally, the ciliary muscles regulate the power, optical power of our eyes depending upon the viewing distance.
The human eye is like a camera. Its lens system forms an image on the light-sensitive screen called retina, which consists of two types of cells, as Sir told you. The eyeball is almost spherical in shape with a diameter of about 2.3 centimeter. Light enters the eye through a transparent membrane called cornea. Behind the cornea is a muscular diaphragm called iris, which has an opening called pupil. As you all know, the color of our eye is actually the color of iris. The pupil controls the amount of light entering in the eye, and the eye lens helps to focus the image of object on retina. The ciliary muscles helps to change the curvature of the lens and to change its focal length. As we all know, we have only a single lens in our eye which is able to accommodate object placed near or far from us. We are able to see them clearly. This is because of ciliary muscles and the nature of the lens, which is flexible in nature. Now, how this eye works? The eye lens forms a real inverted image of an object on the retina, and the light-sensitive cells in the retina then produce an electric signal, which are carried by the optic nerve to the brain. And the brain processes the information and sends the message to the eye, and then we are able to see the object. And another thing, as we have discussed earlier, about the accommodation of eye lens. What is that? The ability of eye lens to see both near and distant objects by adjusting its focal length is called power of accommodation. The eye lens is composed of fibrous jelly-like material. Its curvature can be changed to some extent by ciliary muscles. The change in curvature of eye lens can change its focal length. When the muscles are relaxed, the lens becomes thin and its focal length increases. And when the muscles contract, the lens becomes thick and the focal length decreases. That's how we are able to see distant and nearby object clearly. Now, what the matter is, to what extent we are able to see nearby and far object clearly. This is the near point and far point of the eye. The minimum distance at which the eye can see object clearly is called near point or least distant or distinct vision. For normal eye, it is 25 centimeter. And what is for far point? The farthest distance up to which I can see object clearly is called far point of the eye. For normal eye, it is between 25 centimeter to infinity if there is no defect in the eye. But somehow defects may appear in the eye. And how these defects come and what are these defects? Let's go through it. First defect of human eye is myopia or nearsightedness. What is this? Myopia is a defect of vision in which a person can see nearby object clearly but cannot see distant object clearly because image is formed in front of retina. As you can see here, we have a normal eye where the image is formed at retina. And we have a myopic eye also in second figure, B figure. Here the image is formed before retina. It is not forming at retina. That's why that image seems to be blur and we are not able to see that image clearly. Now, as you see, image is formed in front of retina. But why it is forming in front of retina? This may be due to two reasons. First is increase in curvature of eye lens or increase in length of eyeball. In this case, if we want to shift the image up to retina, then what we have to do? We need to diverge these lines. light rays, so that image will be shifted to retina. For that purpose, we should use a lens, diverging lens of suitable focal length, and the diverging lens is concave lens. So this myopia can be corrected by using suitable concave lens. This is first defect of sight. Another it can be explained like this also. In myopic eyes, as you can see, light rays are coming from distant object, they are parallel, and after refraction they are meeting in front of retina. To shift them to retina, we need to use a diverging lens, which is concave lens of suitable focal length. Clear? Now second defect of vision is hypermetropia or farsightedness. What is this? Hypermetropia is a defect of vision in which a person can see distant object clearly but cannot see nearby object distinctly or clearly. Why it happen? It happen because image is formed behind retina. As you can see in normal eye, first figure. In normal eye, object is placed near to the eye. The light rays are coming from the object, and after converging they are meeting at retina, so that we are able to see a clear image of the object. But in hypermetropic eye, this image is shifted behind retina. That's why we are not able to see object clearly. We get a blur image of the object. How can we correct it? As you can see, these light rays are not enough to converge themselves. That's why we are using another lens in front of them, so that it will be able to converge the light, and the converging lens is convex lens, right? But why this problem appears? Why it happens? This may be due to decrease in curvature of eye lens or decrease in length of the eyeball. That's why maybe image is not formed at retina or formed behind retina, and we can correct it by using a convex lens of suitable focal length. Let's see it more clearly. As the object is placed near to the eye, the light is coming from it. After refraction, the light rays are meeting behind retina. That's why we are getting a blur image. Now to correct this, or to focusing image at retina, we need to converge these light rays, and it is done by using a converging lens or convex lens. Clear? This is second defect of vision, that is hypermetropia. Now third defect of vision is presbyopia. Presbyopia is a very common defect which is seen in old people. Presbyopia is a defect of vision in old people in which they are not able to see nearby object clearly due to increase in distance of near point. This is due to weakening of ciliary muscles or decrease in flexibility of lens by the passage of time. As you know, our body may become fatigued, muscles may become fatigued, or lens may lose its capability of converging light rays. That's why we are not able to see the objects clearly. This can be corrected by using suitable convex lens. Sometimes they are not able to see both nearby or distant object clearly. It can be corrected by using bifocal lens consisting of both concave and convex lenses. The upper part is concave for correction of distant vision, and the lower part is convex for the correction of near vision. You might have seen these type of glasses are wearing by your grandparents. Thank you, students.